Manipulation, harassment, and predatory behavior are just some of the chilling accusations leveled against former beloved artist Marjorie Dockett, better known by her online alias Wubcake. Once a beloved member of the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fandom, Wubcake's reputation within the community quickly soared, not for mere fandom devotion, but for far more sinister reasons. For the unacquainted, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, though a children's show, amassed a devoted following of quote-unquote bronies, matured fans who found meaning in its themes of friendship and kindness. While some viewed this phenomenon as harmless, others saw it as unsettling. Over time, as the fandom waned, what remained was a darker legacy, a subculture that, while often innocent, also nurtured deeply troubling behavior. Wubcake's case exemplifies this darker side, where affection for the community twisted into something disturbing. Her name has become infamous for actions that surpass mere eccentricity. She can be compared to a fellow locale in the community, Lily Orchard, sharing similar allegations of manipulation, harassment, and predatory conduct, revealing a more sinister use of fandom as a mask for deeply harmful behavior. This is not an isolated incident, but part of a broader trend where the internet's invisibility allows individuals like Wubcake to engage in behavior that would be unthinkable in the real world. For those new to my channel, what's good? My name is Clancy. On this channel, I study the art of crash out, so if you're down to hear some insane stories, definitely consider subscribing.
But yeah, I also love drawing and getting to know people and being a total weirdo. The good kind, not the creepy kind.
On March 3rd, 1996, Marjorie Dockett was born. She lived with her grandmother during her childhood, having lost her mother at a young age and never knowing her father. At the age of 10, she became acquainted with her now former friend Emily. Although Emily doesn't recall much before middle school, a public police report from the Greenfield Police Department documents an incident where a 10-year-old Marjorie, referred to as Dockett, punched a special education teacher during class. This led to her grandmother, whom Marjorie resented, restraining her. This incident suggests troubling behavioral patterns that would continue into adulthood. Despite her grandmother reportedly being kind, this early event foreshadowed Marjorie's future actions. By 2007, Marjorie and Emily had grown close and became best friends. However, by 2009, Emily began to notice concerning red flags. For instance, Marjorie would inappropriately touch Emily's chest, stopping only when sternly told to do so. The relationship between Marjorie and her grandmother also became increasingly violent, with Emily once overhearing Marjorie choke her grandmother during a phone call. In 2012, Marjorie dropped out of school. Concerned for her friend's education, Emily tried to encourage her to stay in school, but ultimately Marjorie never graduated. Marjorie began her journey in voice acting in 2011, motivated by her long-standing affection for the My Little Pony universe, which she had admired since the third generation of the series.
Actually, I grew up on My Little Pony, and you know, back when G3 was a thing.
In 2012, she took a significant step by creating her YouTube channel, Wubcake, where she began auditioning for various roles and connecting with others in the voice acting community.
Well, I first started practicing around 2011, but I first made my YouTube channel in 2012 and started auditioning and getting to know people.
Marjorie often expressed how much she enjoyed meeting new people and cherished the camaraderie that came from sharing a passion for the show. Her enthusiasm for the fandom not only fueled her creative pursuits, but also fostered what seemed to be meaningful relationships with fellow fans and artists. However, some of those connections would prove to be problematic. Over the next few years, Marjorie met new people, including her then boyfriend, Maid, and became more involved with the My Little Pony community. Within this community, she connected with Jenna, a 12-year-old at the time, through Skype, which ultimately led to disturbing events. In February 2015, during a sleepover at Marjorie's residence, Jenna would be by her. Shortly after this event, Marjorie would acknowledge Jenna's age in April of the same year, which was 13 at the time, and her being 19 at the time of the event in these now deleted Skype texts. Jennabun saying, "Do you think I should wait?" Marjorie saying, "Thing is, dear, I'm 19 and you're 13. Plus, I don't really feel like having a relationship for a while. Even if we were together, it would constantly be on my mind on our age differences and what your parents would think. I'm just not plain interested in dating you. I'd feel like a pedo. I'm a legal adult and you are a minor." Marjorie often attributed her unpredictable actions and sudden shifts in mood to what she described as multiple personality disorder, using it as an explanation for behaviors that were otherwise hard to understand. By claiming this condition influenced her actions, she suggested that it was beyond her control, that her decisions and reactions stem from different facets of her personality that surface unpredictably. This allowed her to deflect personal responsibility, leaving others around her to grapple with the challenges and inconsistencies in her behavior. Whether or not her condition was genuine, her reasoning created a layer of complexity in how others perceived and interacted with her. Jenna would testify to this, saying, "Eventually one day when Cyclone was driving us to her house, we stopped at the side of the road in a foresty area, and she told me that she needed to come out about something. She asked me not to judge her, and I promised her I wouldn't. Then proceeded to explain that she had multiple personality disorder, with her personalities being characters from the show My Little Pony. I had no idea what that was, but blindly decided to trust her because I never wanted to believe she could lie to me. I said I understood, and from that point on, she started switching into her personalities around me very frequently. She claimed that she had these personalities ever since she was 6 years old, but these characters did not exist back then. I never questioned that though, due to blind faith I had at the time. Eventually she started trying to separate me from everyone close to me in my life. She would hang out with me in my bedroom and start insulting my mom and dad, claiming my mom was a narcissist and that I shouldn't trust my dad. She told me that she should be the only big sister in my life and that I shouldn't be relying on my actual sisters for any type of support. I should solely rely on her. She also started separating me from my only IRL friend at the time, and unfortunately it worked. My relationships with my parents, my sisters, and my best friend became extremely unhealthy. I would lash out at them due to the words she put in my head, and I would ignore them as much as possible to prioritize my time with her, only going to her for any support. Jenna then went on further to explain the actions Marjorie had inflicted on her during the time she was over at her home. I eventually complied and sat next to her, so we were laying down face to face. She then started putting her leg between my two legs and rubbing it in between and moaning super loud. She then kissed me on the lips and started slobbering over my mouth with her tongue. I felt extremely sick and like I was going to throw up, but I wasn't able to move. I felt frozen and vulnerable and didn't know what to do. I don't know how long that went on for, but eventually she grew tired of it and went to sleep. I sat at the edge of the bed tossing and turning, but eventually just wasn't able to get any sleep. I confronted her about the sexual assault. We got in a group call afterwards with a bunch of people. I don't remember who exactly was there at the time since it was such a long time ago, but I remember Maid, Rustic, Cyclone, and Purple Roseland being present. I then confronted her about it via voice in the group call, and she broke down crying on video, constantly apologizing and saying how sorry she was. Eventually it somehow got spread online to a bunch of other people and just became a chain reaction. I had hundreds of people telling me to kill myself, cut myself, and a bunch of extremely descriptive, horrifying things to say to a 13-year-old. Jenna was frozen, unable to react or defend herself. In the aftermath, Marjorie dismissed the incident as a misunderstanding, claiming multiple personality disorder was responsible, though this explanation rang hollow to those who knew her. Armed with moderator privileges on YouTube, Marjorie and Rustic Shine decided to use their power to delete Jennabun's channel, effectively erasing her presence from the platform. Continuing her pattern of manipulative behavior, Marjorie began to exploit her friend Emily, who we had touched on earlier, and her mother Joanne for housing and financial assistance. This calculated leeching not only revealed Marjorie's opportunistic nature, but also showcased the blurred lines between friendship and exploitation. By taking advantage of the goodwill of others, Marjorie demonstrated a troubled lack of integrity, prioritizing her own needs over the well-beings of those around her. As Marjorie's controversial behavior continued unabated, she met Brandon, who would become the next target of her peculiar dialogue, as Marjorie would play around with sexuality, invoking some troubling dialogue between her and Brandon. Whilst also noticing her interactions with mutuals, Brandon soon became aware of Marjorie's troubling history. In response to her actions and the ongoing turmoil surrounding her, Brandon championed the hashtag StopWubcake Movement, seeking to spotlight Marjorie's detrimental impact on those within her circle and beyond. An individual named Envy attempted to defend Marjorie by animating a rather embarrassing video in her favor. And I'll be the first to say it, Envy, you're not hard by making this video. This misguided attempt to preserve Marjorie's reputation only fueled the fire, further entrenching opinions regarding her behavior. Clearly the situation had escalated beyond mere personal disputes. It had entered the public domain, attracting attention and creating a narrative that many people were eager to engage with. It's also worth mentioning that the late Randy Stair, the Waste Market shooter, had also worked with Marjorie. One could infer that it's pretty telling that even a mass shooter recognized red flags. As the hashtag StopWubcake Movement gained momentum, Marjorie's reaction was notably dismissive, leading to an underwhelming and poorly received response, which she then deleted. This reaction not only alienated her further from her peers, but also solidified the criticisms levied against her. After learning more about Wubcake, it's clear that she has a checkered past she refuses to acknowledge. Her silence in response to this movement speaks volumes, and her reactions suggest anything but innocence. Despite portraying herself as the victim for nearly a decade, she appears to have been the perpetrator, embodying the term that she loves to use, pathological liar, with her very actions. The exploitation of people financially, emotionally, and physically, with her hiding behind a mask of deceit and betrayal. For those that were affected by her actions, sharing the story may bring awareness to others. As of now, she continues to avoid accountability, distancing herself from the StopWubcake movement. We can only hope that one day Marjorie recognizes her detrimental train of thought and repent from these ways. My goal with covering this situation was to bring more attention to it. We went over the most important details about this case, but if you wish to hear a little bit more from the victims themselves, I have all of Brandon's videos on the matter linked in the description below. Thank you to Haley, Brandon, and Jenny for allowing me to bring more attention to this story, and with that being said, it's been your boy Clancy. Holla at your boy. Peace.